To give you the basic numbers, we'll start off a little bit about what we have today. There are a total of 805 cases, total cases in the Rappahannock Area Valley Health District. 66 of those are confirmed in the city of Fredericksburg. So those numbers continue to go up, which is a little disconcerting to me. All the metrics that he wants to use for opening the state require a downward trend, and we're not necessarily seeing that in the Rappahannock Area Health District, and I know they're not seeing it in Northern Virginia. Just to give you an example, we have gone, the one positive note is the amount of testing has increased, so he is correct about that. In the last 9 days, the state has said they've tested over 48,000 people for COVID-19. But we have seen an increase in the total death rate or the total deaths of 207 in those last 9 days. And the number of positive cases has gone up over 6,300 in those last 9 days. So I don't know, unless you're starting to look at percentages, how you're seeing the downward spiral of that. In the local health district on May the 4th, we had a total of, 585 cases. And now today on May 12th, we have a total of 805 cases. That's an additional 220 cases in 9 days. We're averaging about 24 cases a day. That's still not where I'd want to see it. And the rate is not flat. It goes up and down, kind of like a yo-yo that you would work with. We've also had an increase of 21 cases in the city in the last 9 days. So that number has gone up. Some days we remain flat. We've had as many as 7 new cases in 1 day. So that's a little disconcerting. The same thing too with available hospital beds across the state. We peaked last week where we had 1,625 beds occupied by COVID-19 positive patients. We're now down to 1,529, but we tend to go up and down a little bit on that. The ventilator use is flat or slightly increasing, and the number of people in ICU beds that have COVID-19 in the state has remained flat. It's really not dropping dramatically or in a curve that you would expect. So those numbers give me a little concern about what's going on in the area and what will happen once we open up. But that's where we particularly are with those particular numbers at this time.
You spoke about the fact that our numbers are not decreasing, they are increasing. And while we're looking to reopen in specific ways, what does that look like? And I've had this question from the public. What does it look like if our numbers continue to increase? Are we going to shift what we're doing? Or how does it look a week or two from now as our numbers continue to increase?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I think it's something that we have to look at internally as far as what we do with our particular operations and how we bring our staff back, or when we bring our staff back, and how we open to the public. But I think the other thing that kind of works into this situation is what is our capacity at our healthcare facilities and how well are they handling that? If we start to get to the point where we get saturated or get close to our numbers that we don't want to be at with our healthcare facilities, primarily the 3 hospitals and the freestanding ER, then that becomes a challenge. And it also becomes a challenge when we start looking at, what we do if we have a surge and things like that. And right now, the numbers there look okay. They're not horrible by any stretch of the imagination, but we don't want to get to the point where within a day or two, we're going to run out of space. And I think that's where we have our weekly conversations with our healthcare providers and Mary Washington Healthcare in particular for the city, and talk to them about their census and what's going on and what they're doing with the ICU and the ventilators and everything like that. So, if we do have an uptick, but the vast majority of people are isolating at home and doing what they're supposed to do, and I can't guarantee they'll do that, but if that's what they're supposed to be doing and we don't have an overrun of the hospital, then I think the situation, while it's certainly not good, at the same point in time is a manageable situation. When we start to get people that are very sick and they end up taking up hospital space and beds and and ICU space and ventilator space, then we've got a major problem, and that's something we're going to have to address.
But it does seem like, we're separated from Northern Virginia or Prince William County by Stafford. So it's hard to, when Stafford's not looking to stay closed down, it's hard for us to move, it's hard for us to not be in line with Stafford and Spotsylvania. I guess that's what I'm saying. But it does leave us a little vulnerable. I don't know that we all feel that we're ready. I know businesses have done a great job managing and being creative. I know that they'll continue to do so when we open. But again, I would just encourage our city manager to continue those discussions. And I guess we should maybe figure out if something changes this week, if there's different information, where are we headed on Friday? So maybe the city manager could give us some guidance as far as that goes. If there's other information that comes out between now and Friday, where do we stand?
That he does not want to see an increase in the percent of positive tests. He wants to see this ongoing decrease in hospitalization, at least that it's not increasing.
I think we're doing that.
So he's tracking this data very closely. Hospital beds and intensive care capacity is maintained so that they're not being overwhelmed, and that folks have adequate PPE. As long as we're meeting these criteria, and they're not on the upswing, I think we're good to go. But this is a concern, right? Where's that? This is our hospitalization trend. It's on an upswing right now, and you may have noticed in the last couple of weeks, without the governor's order to open, how much traffic have you seen out there? I mean, there's a huge...
I haven't got any phone calls. That means that's good. I mean, the thing, one more question I have. Did you say Spotsy had 281 or 218 as far as the amount of...
Yeah, 261.
I'm sorry, 261. Okay. Even at 281, our percent is like 0.0. And because this county has quite a few people, and I would think that, how is that looked at? I mean, we do have a very low percent of our people in Spotsylvania that has been affected by it, I guess.
That's true, but remember, this number here is only those who've had a positive COVID-19 test. Well, it's most folks, I mean, all providers and all laboratories are required to report these positive tests to us. So we know about all the positive tests. What we don't know is that 80% of disease, those who are asymptomatic, or those who have mild disease that just think, oh, I just got a cold or my allergies are kicking in, and never get them. So there's a lot more disease out here. I would suggest you have at least 1,000 cases in Spotsylvania County.
Okay.
Over 1,000 cases in the last 2 months.